first of all, see, ethics has some 7 to 8 contents. Okay, very easy content. 2 contents were already done. जो newcomers जो आज आए हो, nothing to worry. 2 contents का मैं वीडियो मेरे पास है, डाउट होगा तो मुझे पूछना. Today is the main important content, that is the third content, that is foundational values. We are done with the foundational values last class, that is the question answers, but today we'll go through the theory part from that book, D.K. Balaji book. I'll make you understand. Okay, ये जो chapter है, ये chapter is the core part of ethics. Why I'll tell you, because here the foundational values, some 7 to 8 values are there, which you need to follow once you get into bureaucracy. You need to follow that. It's not mandatory, but you need to follow that. All these value system or these values will help you in case study also. There will be 2 questions directly. Okay, normal question and then case study में भी आएगा. Case study में you have to exactly write the value which is required. You simply cannot write मन में जो आया वही लिख दिया. No, you have to see the case study exactly which is required, the demand of the case study. Okay, so today the chapter is Aptitude and Foundational Values for Civil Service. First of all, aptitude है क्या? What is aptitude? The term aptitude. हम CSAT में use करते हैं aptitude word, right? So basically, aptitude means potential. आपका कितना potential है? It's a storehouse of energy in oneself. What is the potential inside you? That is called aptitude. When we say that a person has better aptitude, it actually means that he has the innate potential to do something. कुछ भी करने के लिए आपके पास वो energy है या फिर potential है. वहीं पे हम use करते हैं, that particular word we use is aptitude. It is not acquired, it is inherent. A civil service officer needs to have some innate potential to learn, understand and acquire few skills. तो एक civil services का जो होता है, once you get into that particular bureaucracy, this aptitude is inherent. You minimum potential you need to have. That's what they will check in your interview. आप जब interview जाओगे, that is personality test, not exactly interview, this personality test. They will check whether you are eligible for this job or not, whether you have the required potential. Not all, at least some potential, whether you have or not, they will check. Okay, so based on that, you will get the marks. Okay. Aptitude for analytics. A civil servant needs to have an innate potential to bring together various data sets or situations and derive conclusions out of it. An IPS officer would understand the essential features of the way in which crime is perpetrated to find out if there are any similarities. Okay, aptitude of civil servant है क्या? Articulation, technology assimilation, because today we are into the technological world. Previously it was not there, but today it is there. Legal acumen, आपको legality के बारे में how much you know, how much knowledge you have about legal things. Okay, how much knowledge you have. Then analytics के ऊपर आपका कितना knowledge है, या फिर you have the जिसको बोलते हैं कि knowledge of analytics, कैसे आप analysis करते हो. Then is human relations. आप human relations कैसे रखते हो, that is also important in aptitude, right? खास करके एक civil servant के बारे में यहाँ पे बात हो रही है, सबके बारे में नहीं. We are only talking about civil servant. Okay, by doing so he can link a particular crime to particular terrorist organization or a group. This helps in nabbing the culprit soon. More than that, it helps in uprooting an entire gang rather than one perpetrator. इसलिए आपके पास वो intelligence या फिर data analysis, सारे चीज के data को इकट्ठा करके एक साथ लाके एक चीज को पकड़ना, खास करके IPS officer का ये सब चीज होना चाहिए. Every time an IRS officer goes on to an IT raid, he understands the various methods in which tax is evaded. Understanding gained in one raid shall be used to unearth evasion in subsequent raids. तो इसलिए आप कोई भी raid कर रहे हो, if you are an IRS officer, you are doing a raid, the knowledge, the practice, the experience which you gain, it will help you in further raids. So that is called as aptitude. Fine. Aptitude in human relations. If a civil servant meets hundreds of individuals every day, he must have an innate potential to understand the personality of the person dealt with. He must also have the potential to learn to deal with various individuals. To illustrate, a civil servant must have a potential to see the people with genuine demand and those whose demands are not genuine. It means, see, you will meet daily number of peoples with their problems. Okay, so it is your potential ki you need to know who is honest and who is not honest, or who is genuine and who is not genuine. Many people will come. So there also your aptitude will play a very big part, how you deal with humans, how you deal with people. Okay, you simply cannot believe everyone. You need to know exactly who is genuine and who is not genuine. Okay. Third is aptitude for articulation. Talking to public representatives and media is an indispensable role of a civil servant. You have to talk to the public, right? You have to talk to the media. So a civil servant must know what to speak. आपको क्या बोलना है, क्या नहीं बोलना है. You have to be very articulate there. आप एक civil servant है, you cannot simply say what you want, which is happening in today's time. In today's time, if you see the social media में क्या होता है? Civil servants are coming and sharing their personal things. They're taking sides of a particular political party, which should not be the case. So you have to be very particular. You have to articulate your words very carefully, like what to speak. Okay. Okay. Next, how to speak. आपको क्या speak करना है और कैसे speak करना है. How to speak. Okay. What words to be used while speaking. आप कौन सा word use कर रहे हो? What words to be used while speaking? What expression to give while speaking? You have to be very particular in all these things. When not to speak and what not to speak. कहाँ पे क्या बोलना है और क्या exactly नहीं बोलना है. When not to speak and what not to speak. So ये सब चीज अब आप लिखोगे, you have to use the word articulation. Okay, these things are very much important for developing your aptitude. Civil servant का aptitude. So articulation differs depending upon the person spoken to. ऐसा नहीं कि articulation ये सब सबके लिए same होगा. It will differ from people to people. It will differ from situation to situation. Usage of graphs, charts, statistics makes sense while articulating to a superior or to representatives from industry or to an international delegation. अगर आप किसी को ये सब चीज कुछ चीज anything you want to share something, you're like you're speaking something, maybe you're speaking to your boss, so better to articulate it in a use of graph or chart or statistics. If you're going to some international delegation, for example, you're going to some international organization as a representative from India and you have a point of view, you need to show it, you can show it in the use of graphs. Okay, but that articulation does not make any sense to a rural illiterate individual. But अगर आप एक IAS officer हो, आप एक district में काम कर रहे हो and you are trying to talk to the people of that society, of that particular area, so there if you use graph charts, so it makes no sense. They will not understand anything. For a rural illiterate individual, showing pictures, narrating a similar incident in a similar village would make more sense, because they are not literate, right? The best civil servant is the one who understands these nuances and articulate accordingly. So it means articulation, what I'm trying to say here is articulation is not the same in all cases, is not the same. You have to see with whom you are dealing with, whether if it's a rural area, so you have to do it in this way. Whether if it's a international organization, or you are going to some as a representative to your to any organization, it can be anything, suppose ASEAN or something, anything. हम IR में पढ़ते हैं. If you are articulating to your boss or anyone from your own office, so you can use this. Okay, fine. Now next is aptitude for technology assimilation. Assimilation means इकट्ठा करना, एक साथ टेक्नोलॉजी मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज सही इस्तेमाल करना, right? Technology has made inroads in every sphere of administration as well as public life. A civil servant needs to have an aptitude for identifying the emerging technologies. बहुत सारे टेक्नोलॉजी आ रहे हैं. So technology is a must. Without technology, एक second. Without technology, it will be difficult to administer, right? It will be difficult to administer. So a civil servant must have that particular potential to identify all the emerging technologies which are needed. He should also adopt the same for the administration. Many civil servants find it hard to understand and use technology. It is a big handicap. There is another dimension for this. A civil servant should be smart enough to grasp the technology needs of public in their interface with the government. He or she should bring technology interfaces that ease people's transaction with the government, because everybody are using technology. And in that case, today's, for example, today a 50 plus or a 55 plus IAS officer, he maybe he does not know technology, maybe he does not know technology, but he has to learn it. It is a must aptitude, because today it is the need of the hour. You simply can't say ki I am from the 80s generation, I am from the 70s or 80s generation, so I will not learn. No, it will not happen, because the thing is, you are working for the people, right? You are working for the people and the people are using it. So you also need to have that potential or that aptitude to learn the new technology and use it for the benefit of the people. Okay, fine. Next, legal aptitude, very 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 important. ये सबसे ज्यादा important है legal aptitude, because आपको बहुत सारे cases होंगे. You have to suppose a case आपके against में आ गया, so you need to know the law. In every sphere of life you need to know the law. If you ask me personally, it's not only for the civil servants, it's for everyone. Everyone should know at least law क्या है, so that nobody can come and use you. Okay, use नहीं कर सकते, या फिर डरा नहीं सकते, या फिर fear नहीं कर सकते. If you know the law. Legal aptitude. Legal aptitude helps a civil servant in two ways. Firstly, a civil servant has to fight a lot of cases for the government in courts, because you are a part of the government. Or in more relevant terms, I'll use the word, you are a part of governance. You are a part of governance. बहुत सारे cases आएंगे, आपका काम देखा जाएगा, whether you have done it or not. So you have to fight it in the court. So once court का word आ जाता है, fight it in the court means the word comes law. You need to know the law. So to know the law, you need to have that aptitude. In ethics term, we call it as legal aptitude. Very simple. See, ये सब questions you have to write it in your own language. You should understand and write the own language. But these terms you have to mention. These terms you have to mention. His or her aptitude to understand the nuances in the acts, case laws, rules, regulations, and norms helps in formulating cogent arguments, so that you can argue. If you know the law, then only you can argue, right? You simply can't argue without knowing the law. Many people are there, they don't know the law, they don't know 1% of the law, but they speak like they know everything. Okay, so to know the law is the most important part from a civil servant point of view. Even if for a normal people also, what the, like आप जब भी पढ़ रहे हो, अभी भी पढ़ रहे हो. See, there was a time like 2 to 3 years back when like some rumors were there when they the UPSC, एक rumor that was not true in Delhi कि optional हटा देंगे, they will remove the optional and they'll add a law paper in GS. Because optional, everybody has different options, so कहीं ना कहीं एक level playing field नहीं हो पाता है, सबका अलग अलग हो जाता है. So law एक paper GS में add होना चाहिए. I personally feel कि this paper should be added. Very basic law. I'm not saying कि like each and every law you should know, but at least the basic important laws you should know. Okay, ठीक है. Any argument backed by laws and rules cannot be overturned by courts. क्योंकि कोर्ट हमेशा लॉ देखती है. बिकॉज जैसे कि मैंने पॉलिटी पे पढ़ाया था, प्रोसीड्योर एस्टेब्लिश्ड बाय लॉ. इन कोर्ट्स in India, what is followed? Procedure established by law. But in Article 21, this one is followed. Plus from the Menka Gandhi case, we have due process of law also. Due process of law also. This is a separate topic I have already covered. I'll cover it again for new students. Okay, fine. So कोर्ट्स हमेशा लॉ देखेगी, लॉ पे चीजें लिखी है या नहीं. Okay. Secondly, most positions manned by a civil servant are quasi-judicial. A civil servant also adjudicates so many cases. The adjudication depends on civil servant's analysis of the facts of the case in the light of the Parent Act and other incidental rules. Here, बहुत सारे ऐसे position है जहां पे एक civil servant एक quasi judicial हिसाब से काम करती है. Can anyone tell me any example? क्या माइंड में चल रहा है? अगर पॉलिटी पढ़े हो मुझे बताओ. Anyone? This statement. Most positions manned by a civil servant are quasi. Not all, most positions are quasi-judicial. Quasi-judicial मतलब क्या है? You will have some judiciary powers. मतलब you can summon. You can call someone.
Sir, the SDM has powers of an executive magistrate.
Executive magistrate का judicial power रहता है. Any other?
Collector of an district.
होता है. Finance Commission. क्या है Finance Commission? Finance Commission का chairman कौन है? Usually Finance Commission का chairman एक bureaucrat ही रहता है. तो he can Finance Commission अगर कुछ गलत हो, he can also summon anyone. I'm not talking about finance, I'm talking about this guy. District magistrate हो गया, उनके पास power रहता है. They can call anyone. अगर कुछ problem हुआ, they can call. They can summon. They can ask you to give the evidence. तो quasi judicial रहता है. ठीक है. तो ये जो adjudication करता है, it depends on the civil servant's analysis of the facts of that case in the light of the Parent Act. Act के हिसाब से काम चल रहा है या नहीं, and some rules. Simple. So that is the reason why these bureaucrats need to know. This is the reason, need to know law. So in better language, in ethics, you have to write legal aptitude. Somebody will write bureaucrats should know the law, but you will write bureaucrats should have legal aptitude. तो marks आपको ज़्यादा मिलेगा. Meaning मतलब same है. So here आपको language. See GS 1, 2, 3. Here your facts will play a very big part, and to some extent GS2 में थोड़ा analysis भी चाहिए. Depends on the question. But इधर language का उतना problem नहीं है. But in GS4, the proper words, that is I'll use it as a language. आपको language use करना, अच्छा language you have to write so that you will get that mark, or else you will not get mark. Okay, ठीक है. तो ये हो गया aptitude. So aptitude का question अगर आएगा, these are the aptitude you have to write. Simple. एक question आ सकता है. Okay. Now coming to the next part, that is foundational values. क्या क्या foundational values है? क्या क्या values you need to hold or you need to practice once you enter into the bureaucracy. Okay. So foundational values. See, value क्या होता है? Value refers to choices. Foundation refers to the basement that holds the structure. Foundation. जैसे हम बोलते हैं फाउंडेशन कोर्स, यूपीसी में बोलते हैं, सब इंस्टीट्यूट्स बोलते हैं फाउंडेशन कोर्स, मतलब यू नीड टू हैव दैट बेस थिंग. ओके. Thus foundational values are the choices to be made by the civil servant to strongly hold the superstructure called civil service. आप civil service को strongly hold करने के लिए क्या values पकड़ के रखते हो? What values you are like imbibing or you are practicing? That is the foundational values. So civil servants are expected to choose or prefer the following qualities. ये quality आपको करना पड़ेगा in order the civil services to thrive. You have to have these values. क्या क्या values है? Objectivity, एक एक करके हम पढ़ेंगे अभी. Objectivity. See, all meanings are different. I'm telling you again and again. सबका meaning अलग है. Empathy, compassion, दिखने से अच्छा सेम लग रहा लेकिन है नहीं. Objectivity, integrity, impartiality, dedication, compassion, empathy, ये सब values आपके पास होना चाहिए. Civil, it is very difficult. For example, if I say integrity, it is very difficult to be a man of integrity. Integrity का मतलब क्या है? Integrity मतलब what you think, what you say, and what you do, that is action, should be the same. It's very difficult. Why it is difficult? Because situations are not the same. Situations are not same. There are different circumstances. Every day you will find challenges like anything, and they are very dynamic in nature. So it is very difficult to hold that value. So question answer में हम last class में जैसे किए थे कि कौन सा ऐसा time है जहाँ पे आप integrity hold नहीं कर सकते. It is the integrity means it is the highest level of honesty. हाईएस्ट लेवल ऑफ ऑनेस्टी. ऑनेस्टी का अगर ऊपर कोई है दैट इज इंटीग्रिटी. ये सब एक एक करके पढ़ेंगे अभी. ठीक है, फाइन. ओके, पहले आते हैं ऑब्जेक्टिविटी पे. ओके, सी ईच वैल्यू कैन बी ए क्वेश्चन. दे मे आस्क एवरीथिंग और दे विल आस्क particular thing. So you need to know what is objectivity. Why I'll tell you, because jab you will get when you will get case study in your ethics, apart from the questions you will get some case studies, 6 to 7 case studies. There you need to know which value is in problem. In the place of objectivity you can't write honesty. Okay, so you need to know exactly what question is given, वो example case study exactly क्या बोल रहा है, वहां पे कौन सा values like it is getting hampered. ठीक है, सिविल सर्वेंट का कौन सा वैल्यू हैम्पर हो रहा है. सो यू हैव टू राइट दैट. ठीक है, फाइन. ऑब्जेक्टिविटी क्या है? ऑब्जेक्टिविटी मीन्स एज एग्जिस्ट्स इन ग्राउंड. सब्जेक्टिविटी मीन्स एज एग्जिस्ट इन माइंड. मतलब क्या है? ऑब्जेक्टिविटी मीन्स लुकिंग एट थिंग्स एज दे आर. सब्जेक्टिविटी मीन्स लुकिंग एट थिंग्स एज वी आर. देखो हम बोलते हैं ना सब्जेक्टिव इन नेचर, मतलब every like I have a particular point of view, you have a particular point of view, we all have a different view, so we are subjective in nature. Objective उसका उल्टा है. Objective is explanation of things as they are, completely devoid of what one thinks of them. So, objective criteria जैसा है वैसा है, irrespective of what you think, what he thinks, what she thinks, कुछ नहीं है. Objective ऐसे बोलते हैं ना, you have to do the recruitment in a objective manner with merit. जैसा है, जैसा लिखा है वैसा होगा. What you think, what I think वैसा नहीं होगा. Okay. On the other hand, subjectivity is more of what one thinks of thing, rather than what things actually are. What you think of a particular thing, that is subjectivity or subjective. What I think, जब यहाँ पे think one thing, मतलब you or me, so obviously our thought process are different. So we our point of views will always be subjective in nature. But yes, there are some things which are objective. जैसा है वैसा है. For example, sun कहाँ से आता है? East से आता है. Rises in the east. It is objective. We all know. You can't come and say कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं होता है. Right? So this is a very important trait for a civil servant. Because a civil servant has to make decisions that are beneficial to all. But if a civil servant starts grasping problems as he feels, the solutions he proposes do not address the problem and the problem remains unsolved. So you have to have you need to have this objectivity. Okay, any of the following factors could infuse subjectivity into the assessment of things by a civil servant. So these all things you need to avoid. You need to avoid because these things will make you subjective in nature, which will be difficult because the thing is you are focusing on the betterment of the people. Okay, on a larger scale, the people should be satisfied. Okay, so these things you should avoid. Kya? First is stereotype.
Sir,
First is stereotype.
Objectivity as the law as an example, like objectivity when we compare law as an, can we say example for objectivity is law, like
no, I'll tell you how. You can't see again. Question is very good, but I'll tell you how. See, you are telling that law is objectivity, but law can be interpreted by 3 persons differently. Yes or no? Because of the loopholes in the law. Fine.
Yeah.
So there are always two sides of the coin. Yes, if the law is very good, if for example, murder करना अच्छी बात नहीं है. It is very, मतलब ये you can't, somebody else's hand can't come and say कि नहीं उसने murder किया अच्छा किया, वैसा नहीं है. And moreover, our laws are prone to loopholes. You know it, right? You are practicing law. You know our laws are has a lot of loopholes. ठीक है, और उसी loopholes को कौन इस्तेमाल करते हैं? Advocates इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Okay. So we can't say that on all cases. It depends. situation to situation it depends, but you can't come and say हाँ, law is objective in nature. No, it can be interpreted by you differently, it can be interpreted by me differently, even it is interpreted by Supreme Court differently. Supreme Court खुद अपना verdict को change करता है. Supreme Court also can change the verdict, right? Got it?
Yes, sir.
समझ में आया? Okay. Next, अब ये सब चीज you have to avoid. Any of the following factors could infuse subjectivity ला सकता है. So you need to avoid. क्या? पहले तो stereotype. तो stereotype क्या है? Stereotype means generalization. Stereotype मतलब generalization. A person or a situation or a problem is perceived or assessed based on the opinion about the group for which that person or situation belongs to. For instance, example देखो, if a civil servant receives a lot of false petitions from the people of a particular village, he may develop a general opinion that all the dwellers from that village tender false petitions. एक आ सकता है, अगर आपके if you keep on receiving false petitions, so you will get a very your thinking will be stereotyped about that village कि maybe सब यहाँ पे जो रह रहे हैं every people are giving false petitions. Then even if a genuine petition is filed by the villager from that village, a civil servant may brush that petition as a false one. अगर एक दिन एक genuine petition भी आ गया ना, so you may think it is a false one. So stereotype, you should always avoid stereotype because stereotype एक बार आ गया तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना, यू स्टार्ट मतलब जैसे कि हम नॉर्मल लाइफ में जजिंग बोलते हैं, हम जज कर लेते हैं. जब हम एक पर्टिकुलर स्टीरियोटाइप को जज कर लेते हैं तो द जेन्युइन वंस, जब जेन्युइन प्रॉब्लम होता है, देन वी कांट एड्रेस दैट बिकॉज दैट स्टीरियोटाइप हैड ऑलरेडी एम्बेडेड इन आवर माइंड्स. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू गेट रीड ऑफ दैट स्टीरियोटाइप. An objective civil servant would exercise caution here and try to apply brakes on subjectivity and promote objectivity. एक सच्चा सिविल सर्वेंट या फिर ऑब्जेक्टिव सिविल सर्वेंट हमेशा यहाँ पे स्टीरियोटाइप को अवॉइड करेगा. He will always avoid stereotype. To quote another hypothetical example, a civil servant may believe that all subordinate staff are corrupt. This may distort his assessment of even honest subordinates. Suppose you have a this thinking कि all you have heard from somewhere, you don't know, you have heard from somewhere कि हाँ उस department में everybody are corrupt, so maybe there will be one honest, maybe, right? So because of this stereotype of this pre-notioned thinking, that guy may not come to the fore to the open and say it, right? Because you already have that thinking कि ये सब corrupt है यहाँ पे. So that should not be there. Okay. So objectivity would prevent this possibility. So if you see it on an objective criteria कि आप सच्चाई से देखोगे कि हाँ कौन corrupt है, who is corrupt, who is not corrupt, फिर जाकर आपको पता चलेगा. Okay, ठीक है. Next. Okay. Stereotype, halotype ये सब हम पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है. अब आ जाओ हेलो इफेक्ट. स्टीरियोटाइप हो गया. So stereotype you should avoid in order to promote what? That is objectivity. Now comes the halo effect. Halo effect implies judging a person by any one trait of him. आप judge करते हो एक particular trait से. This takes out objectivity and again infuses subjectivity. A civil, so you have to use these words, halo effect, ठीक है. A civil servant may think that whoever does not come to office on time is also inefficient. He may think whoever time पे नहीं आता वो inefficient है. A civil servant may also believe that an employee who does not know English is inefficient. On the flip side, an employee who is good at English may be believed to be very hardworking and efficient. This could lead to preferential treatment to a work worker. This brings down the morale of the whole office. अगर आप पहले से ही if you, it means you are एक particular personality trait को आप देख रहे हो. So you are supporting one personality trait of a person. Okay. If you think कि जो English बोलता है वही intelligent है, it's not the case, right? Again, this is a subjective thing. जो सिर्फ English बोलता है वही अच्छा है. जो थोड़ा 5-10 मिनट लेट आ गया तो वो खराब है. So it is a wrong thing. So you are using a personality trait to judge. You are using a personality trait to judge. Okay. So this should not be done. So you should always judge from an objective point of view. Suppose he's late, but if he's working for the people, so you should not judge, right? 5 minutes 10 minutes agar late ho gaya, but if he's working for the people, then you should not judge. So all these things plays a very big part, because you are doing it on a very subjective criteria. You are judging that person not on a merit, not on his or her merit, but from a subjective criteria. Okay, और एक example है. Okay, suppose the union finance minister is deciding on the allocation of funds to various sectors across the states. He believes that a state with better education is also doing good in the health front. Hence, he may release minimal funds for health to the state that is doing good in education. But the reality may be that the state's health scenario isn't better. खराब है. So यहाँ पे भी क्या होता है? Again, एक particular चीज पे हम जज करते हैं. So always, once you enter into the bureaucracy, you should not use that halo effect जो कि हम यहाँ पे पढ़ रहे हैं. You should not use that halo effect, because it will infuse subjectivity in your personality trait, because you are judging a person's trait more than his work. Okay, fine. Next, primacy effect. Primacy effect क्या है? Primacy effect implies that first impression determines subsequent impressions about a situation. First impression, anyway, about a situation, a person, or a problem. Suppose in the first inspection of PHC, a civil servant, primary healthcare center जो है, a civil servant finds that it is very clean, neatly maintained. This impacts him in subsequent assessment of PHCs. For example, initially you go into a primary healthcare center to do the assessment. You find it very clean. So what happens? What happens is you will see कि okay, ये तो clean है, तो obviously I'll not go further. I'll not go, या फिर मैं 6 महीने बाद, 6 months बाद, या फिर 1 year बाद I'll go. So again, here also a first impression, usually it plays in our mind, right? Because this is a human behavior, it's a human tendency. So this should not be there, because this also will tend you or will help you to or infuse that subjectivity thing inside you, which should not be the case. Because once a subjectivity goes inside you, objectivity decreases, and objectivity has to be there because it is a foundational value of the civil servant. ठीक है? तो ये भी एक primacy effect. पहले हम क्या करते हैं? पहले एक को देख के, किसी को भी देख के हम जज करने लगते हैं. किसी को भी देख के. ये these things, why these are mentioned? Because these are part of human nature. These are part of human nature. हम जज करते हैं from the first look, which should not be the case. हम फर्स्ट लुक, कोई अगर अच्छा दिखता है तो ये अच्छा आदमी है. जो अच्छा दिखता है वो अच्छा आदमी कैसे हो सकता है? It's not 100% true, right? ठीक है. हम usually we do it, right? हम बहुत ही सूट वूट पहन के जाते हैं इंटरव्यू में देने के लिए, लेकिन वो अलग बात है कि उनको पता चल जाता है. Okay, so these things you should keep in mind कि always these are the things which will reduce your objectivity thing and will increase your subjectivity thing. Okay, next, recency effect. ये क्या है? Under a recency effect, the recent impression determines the immediate next impression about a situation, person, or a problem. जो recent impression है, it will determine the immediate next impression about a situation, about a person, about a problem. It is akin to hearing a loud noise of cracker blast and suddenly a big steel vessel falls onto floor and you feel it is a cracker blast. Example देखते हैं. A civil servant is hearing a case involving a land dispute. कोई एक land dispute हुआ है and civil servant is hearing a case. Okay, ठीक है. He finds that few false documents are produced as evidence and the signature is also forged. False documents produced हुआ है, signature भी forged हो चुका है. In the case that is heard immediately next, a civil servant would doubt even the genuine document and signatures. Even though there are genuine documents and the case is straight, he may simply adjourn the case, putting petitioners to trouble. होता है ना? एक जब हम the recent thing plays in our mind like anything, we also judge the next thing or the next anything. It can be a person, it can be incident, it can be anything. This is also a part of human behavior. ये सब human behavior में है हमारा. That is the reason why once you become a civil servant, now you are not a normal guy. Now you are not a normal citizen. You are a part of the governance. You are working for the people. You have to change those characters which you were practicing all your life. These things we do it. Last में जो हुआ है, last incident or an impression will make you decide the next step or the next impression. So that recency effect बोलते हैं उसको. So this also should not be there in a civil servant, because these are all part of human life. That is the reason these things should not be there, at least for a civil servant. Okay. Next is seeing oneself in others. Very important, seeing oneself in others. H.M. Tomlinson famously said, we set things not as they are, but as we are. ठीक है, हम मतलब हिंदी में बोलते हैं हम चीजों को उस तरीके से देखते हैं जैसे हम हैं. As we are, not as that thing is in a particular thing. We see it as we are. Subjectivity is also influenced because of one's tendency to put one's self into others. A person may think that the whole world is just as he is. बोलते हैं ना, कोई लोग ऐसे समझते हैं कि ये वर्ल्ड भी वैसा होना चाहिए, मेरी तरह होना चाहिए, अपने जैसा होना चाहिए. An honest civil servant may consider that every other employee is honest. Similarly, a civil servant who is comfortable working late night thinks that everyone is comfortable working late night. होता है, जैसे हम करते हैं, whatever we do, we expect others to do the same. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे भी एक चीज आ जाती है कि we see oneself in others. For example, a finance secretary is very frugal in spending money. He may think that every other officer also spends money without profligacy. Then he may not be able to identify the extravagance in the expenditure on the part of some departments. अगर वो believe करता है कि money spend करो, तो वो वैसा ही थिंकेगा कि every other officer is doing this extravagant spending. So इससे हम क्या होगा, public exchequer खत्म हो जाएगा एक दिन, सरकार का पैसा है. Okay, so all these things you should not do. You should always infuse objectivity by reducing these 5 points. So remember, these 5 points you should reduce so that the subjectivity reduces and objectivity increases. Okay. Okay. Next, tips to develop objectivity. Here are some of the tips that one can use to develop objectivity. आप कैसे डेवलप करोगे, ये तो एक एक चीज है which you should reduce so that your subjectivity आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कम हो जाएगा, your subjectivity will reduce. But some normal tips है which you need to follow. Don't jump into conclusion at first instance. Think twice before you decide. हम सबको बोलते हैं कि किसी की बात सुन के फर्स्ट इंस्टेंस में कंक्लूड मत करो. डिसाइड. बिलीव इन योर गट ओनली व्हेन इट रीअश्योर्स यू सो मेनी टाइम्स. आप अपने गट को, यू हैव टू बिलीव इन योर गट. दैट गट विल रीअश्योर यू मेनी टाइम्स. Directly or indirectly seek the views of others. Directly or indirectly seek the views of others about the person or situation or thing that you are assessing. कोई भी चीज अगर आप assess कर रहे हो, ask others. ठीक है, directly or indirectly. Then subject your assessment in the light of those assessments and arrive at a reliable assessment or a true assessment. Whenever you stumble upon your incorrect assessments, जब भी आप stumble कर रहे हो, think of the subjective biases that led for the same. आप हमेशा think करो. You have to think कि what were those subjective biases which made me do the incorrect assessment. Once you think about that, okay, this was the subjective assessment I took or bias I took, that is the reason why I assessed the thing incorrectly. In life also, most of the incorrect assessments are done through subjective. Always remember, through subjective thing. I'm talking about overall life generally. जनरली हम सब्जेक्टिव हो जाते हैं and we start judging that people, and finally our assessment becomes incorrect. So always in life also try to involve in your life objective criteria, always, so that your assessment, at least to some extent, it will be correct. Then be mindful of those biases next time when you make assessments. Always think of positives of opposites to your assessment. Suppose your assessment about a person is that he is bad, then think of arguments as to why he cannot be bad. This I call it as a corollary method, which we use in MCQs also. These are some tips and tricks I'll tell you later after December, like how to solve some questions, खास करके economic questions. So if you know कि he is bad, suppose your assessment about a person is bad, so think of some arguments which will prove why he cannot be bad. And if you get this argument, so you will come to know that your assessment about that this person is bad was wrong assessment, because you got an argument which is proving that he cannot be bad. It means your assessment is wrong. How wrong? Because of subjective thing, because you did it on a subjective basis. Now you are thinking of arguments. When argument word comes, it is objective, logical, rational. Okay? This offers counter views to neutralize your views, and the synthesis of your view and counter view is mostly objective. Okay? Okay. Next. The most important, integrity. Okay. Integrity का मतलब मैंने बोला पहले, normal integrity means what you think means what you think when no one is watching you also. There is no scope of acting in the term integrity. You can't act. What you think when no one is watching, what you say, and what you do, that is action. All things should synchronize with each other, and it should be the same. That is integrity. So integrity implies unwavering adherence to your moral principles. Unwavering, सबसे ज़्यादा मतलब सबसे ऊपर का लेवल जिसको बोलते हैं. Adherence means you are adhering to something. You are like एक चीज को मानना. You are unwavering adherence to your moral principles. Whether if somebody is watching, whether somebody is not watching. Integrity. Traffic signal है. Nobody is there, but the red signal is there. Nobody is there, no police is there, nobody is there, but you are stopping there. A man of integrity. Okay? But when nobody is there, what usually we do? हम cross कर देते हैं. We cross that road, right? But that does not mean that we are not honest. We may be honest, but we may be honest at that point of time, but we are not integrity at that point of time. We do not have integrity character. तो honest के ऊपर level है integrity. We'll come to that. Okay. In general and honest in particular. A person with integrity adheres to moral principles not because of external regulations, but because of internal compulsions. कोई law से वो डर के मारे नहीं कर रहा है. He is not adhering to moral principle because of some external compulsion, because someone is telling him, because the government has made a law. So no, it is from his internal. You have to write this, because of his internal compulsions. So unwavering adherence. This integrity is the cornerstone of any civil service because of the following reasons. Why? Integrity क्यों चाहिए? ठीक है? Okay. This is because a civil servant may deal with public resources. आप जो deal करोगे public का resource, आपका खुद का तो नहीं है. All money, everything is public का है. You will be dealing with public resources. There are always informal pulls and pressures to misappropriate the public resources. हमेशा आपके ऊपर एक pressure रहेगा. इसको कैसे हम misappropriate करेंगे? That public fund हो, पैसा हो, हम misappropriate करेंगे. A civil servant has to overcome all those pressures to ensure that public resources are put only to public purpose. Public resources है तो काम public के लिए है, आपके लिए नहीं है. It's not for you. So that pressure जो आपके ऊपर रहता है, because your boss will tell you to do, your immediate senior will tell you to do, you will see the money coming. So if you don't have this integrity character, So obviously you will misappropriate this. It's very simple. Hence, integrity is very much an essential value for civil services. Suppose a civil servant is in the charge of innovation fund. The terms of reference for using innovation fund are to use it for promoting innovation. A public representative forces you to use it for laying approach road to his or her residence. मतलब एक innovation fund सरकार कर रही है. The government is making an innovation fund like for science and tech. Any innovation के लिए एक fund the government made. You are in the charge. ठीक है? Now a public representative means a leader, political leader. ठीक है? Now he will force you to use that to do a road to his residence. ठीक है? थ्रेटन भी करेगा. तो तब आपका इंटीग्रिटी काम करना चाहिए. आप अगर डर गए ना तो गया फिर. योर इंटीग्रिटी विल हेल्प यू. ठीक है? ओके. ही ऑल्सो थ्रेटन्स टू गेट द सिविल सर्वेंट ट्रांसफर्ड. आई टेल यू नाउ, लाइक ये ट्रांसफर का हमेशा इशू रहता है. Transferred, only a civil servant with integrity would stand up in such circumstances. तो आपका इंटीग्रिटी ही आपको बोलेगा to stand up in such circumstances. A civil servant is tasked with the selection of beneficiaries for so many government schemes. तो obviously like beneficiaries मतलब क्या? People. बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स होते हैं, बेनिफिशियरी होते हैं जो बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन वाले लोग होते हैं, जो भी जितना भी जो बेनिफिशियरीज हैं. So you will be given the task to select the beneficiaries. So here an objective criteria needs to be built up and only genuine beneficiaries who meet the eligibility criteria should be chosen. आप अपने घर वालों को लेके नहीं जा सकते कि हाँ ये स्कीम पे आप, because आपके पास power है. Only if you have the power, but that does not mean कि it means you are using subjective thing. Objective criteria should be used. जो लिखा है स्कीम पे, who is eligible, they should be chosen. No beneficiary should be chosen just because he is recommended by a senior politician. No beneficiary should be chosen just because he is ready to pay something in return in cash or kind. No, you have to use objective criteria. Civil servant appoints PDS dealers. पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम डीलर्स को अपॉइंट करते हैं, होम गार्ड अपॉइंट करते हैं, सम लोअर लेवल फंक्शनरीज करते हैं. इन द अपॉइंटमेंट्स आल्सो सिविल सर्वेंट नीड्स टू एक्सरसाइज एक्सट्रीम कॉशन. ही शुड नॉट ऑनर द रिकमेंडेशंस ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंशियल पीपल. आपके पास होम गार्ड रहेंगे, पीडीएस डीलर रहेंगे, कुछ लो लेवल फंक्शनरीज रहेंगे. देयर आल्सो अपॉइंटमेंट्स शुड बी वेरी फेयर. It should be fair. You can't keep your, usually what they do civil servants, वो अपना रिलेटिव का बेटा को रख देते हैं, अपने घर पे रख देते हैं, because you'll get 2 to 3 people inside your home. Guards रहेंगे. At that time also you should not honor the recommendation appointments, because these are after all public appointments. आप सरकार के लिए कर रहे हो. So your integrity will come into play. आपके पास एक गाड़ी मिलेगा, कार. यूजुअली क्या होता है, आप घर जाओगे, सॉरी आप ऑफिस, व्हेन यू गो टू ऑफिस, दिस इज द पब्लिक कार, राइट, सरकारी गाड़ी. आप घर जाओगे, सॉरी आप ऑफिस जाओगे, फिर ऑफिस से कॉल आ जाएगा, ठीक है, बच्चों का, वाइफ का कॉल आ जाएगा, गाड़ी भेजो, शॉपिंग करना है, घूमना है. आप बोलोगे ठीक है गाड़ी भेज देता हूँ. सो मैन ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी विल नॉट डू दैट. ठीक है, मैन ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी विल नॉट डू दैट, बिकॉज पेट्रोल जो होता है वो भी तो सरकार का है. ओके, तो ऑल दिस थिंग्स शुड बी टेकन इनटू केयर इफ यू वांट टू बी कॉल्ड एज ए मैन और अ वुमन ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी. ओके, नेक्स्ट, a civil servant conducts many departmental inquiries, magisterial inquiries, बहुत सारे departmental inquiries भी conduct करता है. In every inquiry, 2 possible cases warrant a civil servant to uphold his or her integrity. क्या? Whenever an innocent person is falsely framed, whenever there is a lot of pressure to acquit an erring government servant, खास करके this point, second point, once or the other will come into your life. जब आप ब्यूरोक्रेसी में जाओगे, आपके ऊपर बहुत प्रेशर रहेगा टू अक्विट, बरी कर देना एक गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट who is charged of something, of a corruption or something, and you are inquiring it because of influential people. There will be a lot of pressure. So there also your integrity will come into play. जिसकी मैंने बोला, the second case is very important. There may be some government servants who work for vested interests. If such servants are framed for their wrongdoing, the same vested interest which that government servant works for would bring a lot of pressure to acquit him. A civil servant with integrity would not budge in such circumstances. वो कभी नहीं झुकेगा in such circumstances if he has this integrity. Okay. Next. Okay. तो integrity हो गया. Now, impartiality, very important, very important. Impartiality and non-partisanship. Okay. Impartiality क्या है? देखो, impartiality means you are not partial. आप partial नहीं हो. Being partial implies you are arbitrarily favoring one part at the cost of disfavoring the other parts. ठीक है? A civil servant has to deal with the whole of society, whole of employee. You can't be partial to a particular section. Suppose you believe in caste. There are a lot of civil servants who believe in a particular caste. So they'll be partial to a particular caste or a particular community. It should not be the case because you are a public servant and public includes everyone. Everyone. Public में सब आते हैं. No religion, no caste, no community, nothing. So you have to be impartial. The expression arbitrary needs some expression. Arbitrary treatment is regarded as favorable treatment. You are favoring one, while a non-arbitrary better treatment is regarded as differential treatment. Sometimes favoring one part as against the other part is built into incentive structure. Means you are favoring one part, right? For one part here means it can be anything. It can be a particular people, particular community. So if you are favoring one community means you are giving incentive to that particular community. So it is you go into that incentive structure. That is the part that performs well is treated better, and the part that performs badly is treated worse. This is the case of differential treatment, not favorable treatment. तो बोलने significance ये है कि because you are a civil servant and you are working for the public and the public includes each and every person of the society, so you have to be impartial in your treatment. You have to treat everybody equally. Thus the test of get equal treatment to get better treatment. ठीक है? कोई भी citizen हो, you can't simply see if a foreign citizen is coming in. A lot of foreigners also stay here, right? So you have to be like you have. They are also working here. They are also paying taxes. Okay, fine. Why impartiality is important? Impartiality क्यों चाहिए civil servant के लिए? Fulfilling all interest equitably, equal तरीके से. A civil servant is tasked with promoting all legitimate interest of all sections of the society. Impartiality ensures the same. अगर आपके पास impartiality value है, so you will promote the interests of all sections of people. A civil servant often allocates funds to various geographies. He should not allocate more funds to his geography. आप अपने village, अपने town, अपने city पे अगर ज्यादा पैसा दोगे, तो again you are being impartial. You are being partial. ठीक है? Just because you hail from that place, you should not. This is not good. Maybe you will get that wow feeling. You will get that thing कि हाँ मैंने किया अपने लोगों के लिए, किया अपने state के लिए, किया अपने village के लिए. But that is not the case in civil servant. अविनाश, you there? थोड़ा कॉल करो इसको. ओके ओके, हो गया. ठीक है. संजना, क्या हो गया? रिकॉर्डिंग बंद हो गया क्या?
हाँ सर, कनेक्शन प्रॉब्लम.
ओके, ठीक है. म्यूट कर दो.
ओके सर.
Okay, similarly civil, mute कर दो. Similarly civil servant, you should be partial towards everyone. She should not be confused with incentive structures that a civil servant follows to encourage good performance and discourage bad performance. To elaborate, a civil servant may allocate more funds to a village if that village has performed well in previous year. That is okay. ठीक है. अगर good performance के लिए you are giving, then that is okay. Okay, but what I'm trying to say here is I'm using the word arbitrary. You should not be arbitrarily you will do that partial thing based on performance. It is very good because performance करोगे तो it will increase that what do you call एक innovation spirit या फिर कुछ और बढ़ने का spirit लोगों में वो सब use करेगा. But if you get an incentive, obviously you will get that thing to work more. So that is okay. Performance wise you can do, but arbitrarily you should not do. ठीक है. Next, ये same example है. Next is in accordance with the mandate of the Constitution, Article 14-15 जो हम polity में पढ़ते हैं. कोई भी discrimination, even you can't discriminate because it is fundamental right है वो. Indian Constitution lays down that there shall not be any discrimination against any citizen. A civil servant being partial essentially violates the. अगर आप करते हो partial करते हो ना, you are violating the fundamental right to equality of citizens. A civil servant who favors the members of his or her caste, जैसे कि वो example मैंने बताया, यहाँ पे लिखा भी है, in selection beneficiary or a government scheme, which violates Article 15. If you are favoring a particular member of your caste, you are violating the fundamental right is getting violated. And you are a part of what? You are a part of the state. State is what? Government. It is defined in Article 12. Okay? So in accordance with the mandate of the Constitution. Third is in accordance with professional ethics. Professional ethics in this case implies the expected righteous behavior from a civil servant. A civil servant is expected to be fair and non-partisan. Being partial violates this basic premise of civil service. Professional, आपका professional ethics पे हम पर आ गए अगर आप, because everywhere it is expected from a civil servant to have that right behavior, righteous, fair treatment. Here what I'm trying to say here is जो righteous behavior है, okay, it is nothing but a fair treatment. You should be fair to everyone. Okay. D is majoritarianism prevention. Very important. Majoritarianism prevention. A civil servant is supposed to guard the interest of minorities as much as it does for the majority. जैसे कि मैंने बोला कि community, everybody are the same. You also have to support the minorities. जितना आप majority को support कर रहे हो, majority have a voice, okay. Minority voice उसका क्या? Insignificant रहता है. So you have to work for them. Minority voice is mostly because of their insignificant numerical strength. कम होते हैं. This creates scope for forcing a civil servant to be partial to majority. You should not do this. Suppose a civil servant is posted in a subdivision that borders a neighboring state. In the border regions, there are people having the language of the neighboring state as their mother tongue. Many times the linguistic majority forces, जो linguistic जो language majority लोग होते हैं, will force the civil servant to give preference to their members. Force you. Since the linguistic majority is also a resident in his or her jurisdiction, a civil servant needs to treat them on par with majority. Suppose since the linguistic minority, so you have to बोलने का ये significance है कि you have to equally treat the majority and also the minority. Suppose two religious groups, one majority and another minority, live in a village. Both of them intend to hold a public function to propagate the tenets of their religion. A public function both hold karte hain to propagate their own religion. It is detrimental to law and order. Problem ho sakti hai. Hence, even though there is a lot of pressure to give permission to majority religious group while denying the same to minority, it should not be given to both. Dono mat do. Because the problem is एक law and order situation problem हो सकती है. किसी एक को दोगे, किसी एक को नहीं दोगे. It's better. No, it should not be given to both. Because obviously you can write there may be a law and order situation. Problem हो सकती है. Okay. Next. Promotion of interest of weaker sections. Weaker sections जो होते हैं, उनका interest हमेशा promote करना चाहिए because they do not have that power. They do not have that voice. Weaker sections of society do not have political power or money power. Hence, they cannot fight for their share of benefits in any government initiative. Similarly, those with money power or political power have the wherewithal to fight for the due share. In this regard, a civil servant should not be partial towards stronger sections and should play the advocate for the weaker section. तो ये सब आपको करना पड़ेगा. Encouraging work culture हर जगह रहता है. कोई भी आप गवर्नमेंट हो, प्राइवेट हो, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट, एक वर्क कल्चर है ना, बहुत जरूरी है. You have to encourage that. Work culture refers to the overall attitudes and moral of all employees in totality. ठीक है? Whenever employees feel that there is a fair treatment, it boosts their moral. Moral. जब employees feel कि हाँ there is a very equal treatment, fair obviously the employees का moral भी increase होगा. It's hard to shirk work. Obviously they'll work harder. They'll not जैसे हम कामचोर बोलते हैं हिंदी में, वैसा नहीं होगा. They'll work harder. If a civil servant is seen to be partial, the employees feel that their good work shall never get recognized. अगर आप partial हो गए ना, get recognized. Do not see any link between efforts and rewards. This leads to poor. This leads to poor. कहाँ पे गया? This leads to This leads to poor performance of an organization. ठीक है? Interest analysis, no emotions, bias free, decision validation, decision support system, public opinion, ये सब होना जरूरी है. मतलब bias free होना चाहिए. You have to be bias free. Emotion नहीं आना चाहिए. Validate your own decision. Decision support system. You should support your decisions. Public opinion लेना बहुत जरूरी है. Okay. Okay. So from here we'll continue in the next class. Okay.